I place the cream linen duvet over the staged bed and smooth a palm across its surface. The fabric is expensive, impersonal, chosen specifically because it looks like money without suggesting warmth. Through the window, Charleston spring air carries magnolia and humidity. I've done this ritual 18 times now, preparing this studio apartment for my mother's visits, erasing every trace of my actual life before she arrives. My phone buzzes. Ethan's name appears. Hey, I answer, tucking the phone between shoulder and ear while adjusting throw pillows that no one will ever actually lean against. There's a pause. The quality of his silence makes my hands still. Mason called your mom. The pillow drops. What? He got into my bag during lunch prep, found my phone, saw Grandma Victoria in recent contacts. Ethan's voice is careful, the tone he uses when delivering bad news to parents about failing students. Kara, he told her about the dinosaur garden we're building. He invited her to see it. He said we live in the house with the red door. The room tilts slightly. 7 years. 7 years of meticulous compartmentalization, and my 5-year-old son unravels it in a single enthusiastic phone call about Brachiosaurus replicas. How much did he say? Enough. Your address. That he has a dad. That we're all going to the coast next weekend. He exhales. She knows. Kara. Everything. I sink onto the staged bed that's never been slept in. Outside, someone's playing jazz. Charleston sounds exactly like it always has, elegant, historical, utterly indifferent to the small crisis unfolding in my carefully constructed false life. What did she say to him? She was apparently very sweet. Asked him lots of questions. Then she told him she'd talk to Mommy soon and hung up. He pauses. Babe, Mason doesn't understand he did anything wrong. Please don't. I won't. My voice comes out steadier than I feel. He didn't do anything wrong. This was always going to collapse eventually. What do you want to do? I look around the apartment. The abstract art chosen to suggest sophistication without revealing personality. The bookshelf stocked with impressive hardcovers I've never read. The kitchen that's never cooked a meal. For 7 years, this 30 by 40 foot performance space has been my insurance policy against my mother's interference. Now it's just evidence of how much energy I've spent on fear. I'm coming home, I say. To the actual one. After we hang up, I call my office. Lena Brooks, my deputy director, answers on the first ring. Kara, thank God. Your mother called here 20 minutes ago. My stomach drops. What did she want? Your real address. Said she was sending you a care package but realized she might have an old mailing address on file. Lena's voice sharpens with protective instinct. I told her all packages go through general delivery. She was very polite. Very persistent. Then she asked if I knew your husband's name. Jesus. I played dumb. But Kara, she's good. If I hadn't already known something was complicated with your family, I might have just answered her. Victoria Whitmore has always been good. Good at reading rooms, at finding pressure points, at deploying charm like a surgical instrument. She sat on 4 non-profit boards. She'd resurrected the Charleston Cultural Alliance's funding through sheer force of strategic networking. When I was 19 and dating Marcus Chen, a brilliant, kind political science major whose parents owned a restaurant, she dismantled that relationship in 6 weeks through a campaign so subtle I didn't recognize it as warfare until it was over. A call to Marcus's family expressing a concern about interracial dating complications. A withdrawn recommendation letter for his graduate school application that she'd promised to write. Strategic comments at country club functions about youthful mistakes and appropriate matches. By the time Marcus broke up with me, he believed he was protecting me from my family's disapproval. I believed I'd failed him. My mother attended his goodbye dinner and cried beautifully. I learned then, Victoria doesn't destroy. She repositions. She makes you complicit in your own surrender. So 7 years ago, when I fell in love with Ethan Rivera, a public school teacher with student debt and a warm laugh and absolutely no interest in Charleston society, I made a different choice. I built a wall. I created 2 lives. I learned to lie so well I almost believed both versions. Thanks for the heads up. I tell Laner. If she calls again, you can give her my Portland address. It doesn't matter anymore. You sure? I look at my reflection in the apartment's carefully positioned mirror. Cara Whitmore, the careful daughter. I'm tired of her. I'm sure. The drive to PDX takes 6 hours when I catch the last direct flight out. I don't pack anything from the Charleston apartment. Let it sit there, a monument to wasted effort. I text Ethan from the airport, coming home. Landing 11 p.m. I love you. His response is immediate. We'll be waiting. Portland rain meets me at the jetway. Soft, constant, nothing like Charleston's dramatic summer storms. By the time the lift drops me at our house on Ainsworth Street, it's nearly midnight. But every light is on. Through the front window, I can see Ethan on the couch, laptop open, probably grading lab reports. The living room is cluttered with the comfortable chaos of actual life. Mason's art projects taped to walls, a half-built Lego city on the coffee table, Ethan's teaching materials stacked near the bookshelf. The red door, the detail my son mentioned that confirmed everything, opens before I reach it. Hey, Ethan says softly. He's wearing the flannel shirt I got him for his birthday, the one that's already developing holes at the elbows because he refuses to throw anything away. Welcome home. I drop my bag and step into his arms. He smells like the cedar soap he makes himself and the coffee he drinks too much of. Real. Uncomplicated. Mine. I'm sorry, I whisper against his shoulder. For what? For all of it. The apartment. The lies. Keeping you and Mason secret like you were something shameful instead of the best thing that ever happened to me. He pulls back to look at me. His eyes, dark brown, perpetually amused, are serious now. Cara. You did what you thought you had to do. I understood that. I didn't like it, but I understood. She's going to come here. I know. She's going to try to destroy this. She can try. He touches my face. But I'm a public school teacher in Portland who grew up in a 3-bedroom house with 6 people. Your mom's particular brand of social intimidation doesn't work on people who were never competing for that kind of approval in the first place. This is what Victoria will never understand about Ethan. He's not impressed by her. Not intimidated. Not interested in the game she spent her whole life winning. It makes him immune in ways she won't know how to counter. Mason asked why Grandma Victoria never visits. Ethan continues. I told him sometimes families are complicated, but that maybe things would change now. He made her a drawing. It's a brachiosaurus wearing a crown. I think he's confused her with the Queen of England. Despite everything, I laugh. That's actually perfect. We go upstairs. Mason's asleep in his room, surrounded by stuffed dinosaurs and picture books. His nightlight, a rotating projection of constellations, throws stars across his face. He looks exactly like Ethan, dark curls, brown skin, the kind of natural ease with himself that I spent 30 years trying to learn. I kneel beside his bed and kiss his forehead. I'm sorry, baby, I whisper. You did nothing wrong. Nothing at all. In our bedroom, Ethan's already left out pajamas for me, the soft ones, not the nice ones. Marriage as practical care. I change and slide into bed beside him. When do you think she'll come? He asks into the darkness. Soon. She'll want to control the confrontation. Choose the moment. What do you need? I think about this. What do I need? For years, I've operated from a place of prevention, stopping my mother from knowing, from interfering, from dismantling my happiness the way she did before. But now the secret's out. The containment strategy has failed. I'm in new territory. I need to stop reacting, I say slowly. I need to think strategically. She's already 3 moves ahead, calling my office, probably researching you, planning her approach. I can't just wait for impact. Ethan's quiet for a moment. Then, so what's your first move? Find out exactly what leverage she actually has. The trust fund, the family money, she's always implied it comes with conditions. I need to know if that's true or just a threat she's trained me to believe. Want me to look into it? No. I know someone better. I'm thinking of James Whitmore, my father's younger brother, the family lawyer who always seemed faintly amused by Victoria's theatrics. I'll call Uncle James in the morning. And after you know the legal situation? Then I figure out what she actually wants. It's not really about you or Mason. It's about control. About the narrative. She can't tolerate that I made a major life choice without her permission. I roll toward him. She'll come here expecting me to apologize, to beg her to accept you. That's the script. So I need to write a different one. Caroline Whitmore, Ethan says, using my full name the way he only does when he's being deliberately formal. Are you strategizing against your own mother? I'm setting boundaries. Finally. Okay then. He kisses me. Let's set some boundaries. Morning comes with more rain and Mason launching himself onto our bed at 6:47 a.m., the time his body has decided is appropriate for consciousness regardless of adult preferences. Is Grandma Victoria coming to see my dinosaurs? He asks immediately, because 5-year-olds have no sense of social delicacy. Maybe, I say carefully. Would you like that? Yes. I never met her except on the phone. She sounds fancy. She is fancy, Ethan confirms, hurling Mason into a hug. Probably the fanciest person we know. Fancier than Miss Patricia? Mason's kindergarten teacher wears a lot of jewelry. Different kind of fancy. After breakfast, Ethan makes his signature blueberry pancakes while Mason provides dinosaur facts. I retreat to our bedroom office and call Uncle James. He answers on the 3rd ring, unsurprised to hear from me. This is how our family works. Information travels faster than truth. Caroline. I wondered when you'd call. You heard. Your mother phoned yesterday. She was displeased. He sounds amused. James has always been the family member who found Victoria's intensity more entertaining than authoritative. I believe the phrase complete betrayal was used. Also public school teacher in a tone usually reserved for serial killer. She asked you about the trust. She did. Wanted to know if there were any provisions allowing for modification based on your life choices. He pauses. I told her what I'm about to tell you. The trust your father established is irrevocable. It's yours regardless of who you marry, where you live, or what career you choose. There are no behavioral conditions. Victoria has precisely zero legal leverage over your inheritance. Something unknots in my chest. She doesn't know that. Or she does, but she's spent years implying otherwise. Implication is your mother's preferred weapon. Actual confrontation is too crude. She'd rather you restrict yourself based on fear of consequences that don't actually exist. He clears his throat. For what it's worth, your father specifically structured it that way. He told me once he wanted to make sure you'd always be free to make your own choices, even if Victoria disagreed with them. My eyes sting. My father died when I was 23, before Ethan, before Mason, before I learned to build walls. But apparently he'd known I'd need protection from my own mother. Thank you, Uncle James. Caroline. One more thing. His voice softens. Your mother is terrified. Of what? Of irrelevance. Of losing the one person whose life she still felt entitled to direct. She built her entire identity around being a Whitmore, around maintaining certain standards, a certain image. You've just told her, inadvertently, but effectively, that none of that matters to you. That's not just rejection. It's existential threat. I'm supposed to feel sorry for her? No. But understanding someone's fear makes them easier to negotiate with. Victoria will come at this like a campaign because that's what she knows. If you want to actually reach her rather than just fight her, you'll need to understand what she's really protecting. After we hang up, I sit with this. My entire adult life, I've seen my mother as an antagonist, sophisticated, strategic, dangerous. But Uncle James is suggesting something more complicated, that her control is actually armor. That underneath the polish and the strategy, Victoria is afraid of being unnecessary. I text Laner, can you meet for coffee? Need advice on a strategic communications problem. She responds immediately, Perk and Polity, 2 p.m. Fair warning, I'm bringing my crisis management brain. Lena Brooks is the closest thing I have to a best friend in Portland. She's brilliant, cynical, and has navigated enough non-profit politics to recognize power dynamics instantly. When I arrive at the coffee shop, she's already claimed a corner table, 2 lattes waiting. Okay, she says as I sit. I've been thinking about your mom's situation since yesterday. First question, what does she actually want? To make me move back to Charleston and marry someone impressive. No. That's what she wanted 7 years ago. What does she want now? I consider this. To not be humiliated. To feel like she still has influence over my life. To meet Mason and make sure he's being raised correctly, whatever that means to her. Better. Laner leans forward. So here's what I think. She's going to come to Portland expecting a fight. She'll have prepared emotional artillery, guilt, social pressure, veiled threats about family reputation. She'll want you defensive and apologetic. Sounds right. So you do the opposite. You control the location, the timing, the terms of engagement. You treat it like a professional negotiation, not a family drama. She pulls out her tablet and starts typing. We're going to build you a crisis communication strategy. For my mother? For anyone trying to destabilize you through emotional manipulation. Same principles apply whether it's a hostile board member or family. She's fully in work mode now, which is somehow exactly what I need. First, establish your non-negotiables. What are you absolutely unwilling to compromise on? Mason stays in Portland. His childhood, his school, his life, those aren't up for debate. Good. What else? My marriage. Ethan isn't a mistake or a phase. He's my partner. That's not changing. What about your relationship with her? This is harder. I want one. I want Mason to know his grandmother. But not if it means surrendering my autonomy. Not if it requires me to apologize for my life. Laner types rapidly. Okay. So your opening position is, I want you in our lives, but on terms that respect our family's independence. That's clear, non-defensive, and it puts the ball in her court. She looks up. When she comes, and she will come, you don't argue. You don't justify. You simply state your boundaries and then stop talking. Make her respond to your framework, not the other way around. She's going to bring up the past. Marcus. How I've lied to her for years. So you acknowledge it without apologizing for the core choice. I wasn't honest about my life because I was afraid of your reaction. That fear was based on past experience. I'm not afraid anymore. See? Explanation without submission. We spend 2 hours building what Lena calls the boundary document, a clear outline of what I'm willing to discuss, what's off limits, and how I'll respond to specific pressure tactics. It feels absurd, strategizing against my own mother like she's a hostile takeover attempt. But it also feels necessary. Last thing, Elena says as we're packing up. Remember, you're not trying to win. You're trying to establish new terms. Winning implies she loses, and a humiliated Victoria is going to be an ongoing problem. You want her to have a face-saving way to accept reality. How? That's the hard part. You'll have to figure out what role she can play that feels meaningful to her but doesn't give her control. She squeezes my hand. You've got this. You're one of the best strategic thinkers I know. You've just never applied those skills to your personal life. When I get home, there's a luxury black Lexus in front of our house. She's here. Through the front window, I can see Ethan standing in our living room, hands in pockets, looking remarkably calm. My mother has her back to me, but I recognize the set of her shoulders, rigid, controlled, radiating displeasure. I sit in my car for 30 seconds, breathing. Then I text Ethan, I'm outside. How bad? His response, she's been here 10 minutes, very polite. Very cold. Mason's at Sophie's house. I called her mom when the Lexus pulled up. Smart. I text back, coming in. Love you. Love you too. You've got this. I walk up our front path, brick pavers Ethan and I laid ourselves last summer, still slightly uneven, and open the red door. My mother turns. She's wearing a cream silk blouse and tailored navy pants, pearl earrings, understated makeup. She looks exactly like herself, elegant, composed, expensively assembled. Her eyes sweep over me, jeans, Portland rain jacket, no jewelry, and I watch her register every deviation from the daughter she thought she knew. Caroline. Mom. The silence stretches. Ethan glances at me, and I give him a tiny nod. He understands. I need to do this. I'll be upstairs if you need anything, he says neutrally, then disappears. Giving us space, but staying close. Protecting without interfering. My mother watches him go. He's younger than I expected. He's 32. And he teaches, science. High school biology. He's excellent at it. His students consistently outperform state averages on standardized tests. I keep my voice level. Would you like to sit down? She perches on our couch, the one we bought used on Craigslist, reupholstered ourselves, like she's visiting a foreign country where the hygiene standards are uncertain. Her gaze travels across the room, cataloguing everything. Mason's drawings on the refrigerator visible through the kitchen doorway, Ethan's teaching materials, our battered coffee table, the general comfortable disorder of actual family life. 7 years, as she says finally. You've been lying to me for 7 years. Yes. She blinks. She was expecting defensiveness, justification, apology. My simple confirmation disarms her. You have a child. A 5-year-old son I've never met. Mason. He's smart, funny, creative. He loves dinosaurs and ballet and building things with his dad. Ballet. She says it like a diagnosis. Ballet, I confirm. He's very good at it. Caroline, do you have any idea? As she stops, recalibrates. I have spent 7 years believing you were building a career in Charleston, living quietly, being responsible. Instead you were here, married to someone I've never met, raising a child in complete secrecy. Do you understand how this makes me look? There it is. Not how could you do this to me, but how does this make me look? It's clarifying. To whom? I ask. Excuse me? Who exactly are you worried about looking foolish in front of? Because as far as I know, you never told anyone in Charleston I was married. You've been operating on the assumption that my life here was temporary or irrelevant. So your social circle doesn't know there's anything to be embarrassed about. Her mouth tightens. I thought you'd come to your senses. Come to my senses, I repeat. You mean leave my husband and child and move back to Charleston to start over with someone appropriate? I mean build the life you were meant to have. The one we raised you for. You come from a prominent family, Caroline. You have responsibilities. I'm a director at an environmental foundation. I develop community partnerships. I'm good at my work. What responsibilities am I shirking? Social responsibilities. Family expectations. You were supposed to, as she stops again, and I see her realize she's revealing too much. I was supposed to what? Marry Jonathan Ashford? Join the right boards? Have elegant dinner parties? I lean forward slightly. Mom, I did all of that. For a year after college, I did exactly what you wanted. And I was miserable. Then I met Ethan, and I realized I could build something real instead of performing something acceptable. That young man upstairs is not. That young man upstairs is my husband. His Mason's father. He's kind and stable and smart, and he makes me happy. Those are the facts. They're not changing. She stands abruptly, crosses to the window. Outside, rain continues its soft assault on Portland's spring greenery. You should have told me. You're right. I should have. But I didn't because the last time I dated someone you didn't approve of, you destroyed the relationship. She turns sharply. Marcus Chen was entirely wrong for you. Marcus Chen was kind and brilliant and loved me, and you systematically dismantled his opportunities until he believed staying with me would ruin his life. I keep my voice steady. You called his parents. You withdrew the recommendation letter. You made sure everyone at the country club knew you disapproved. He broke up with me because he thought he was protecting me from you. I was protecting you from making a mistake. No. You were protecting your image of who I should be. And it worked, Mom. I was terrified of you. So when I met Ethan, I made a different choice. I hid him. I built a fake life for you to approve of while living my real one here. It was exhausting and dishonest, and I should have been braver. But I wasn't going to let you take this from me too. Silence. Long enough that I hear the house settling, the rain against windows, the distant sound of Ethan moving around upstairs. Finally, she says, quietly, "You think I'm a monster?" No. I think you're terrified of losing control. I think your entire identity is built on maintaining a specific image, and I've just told you that image doesn't matter to me. That's probably frightening. But Mom, I can't live my life trying to manage your fear. She sits back down, and for the first time I see something other than strategic composure, uncertainty. What do you want from me, Caroline? This is the moment Lena and I planned for. The opening. I want you in Mason's life. I want him to know his grandmother. I want us to have a relationship that isn't built on secrecy and control. I pause. But that can only happen if you accept my life as it is. Not as you wish it were. Actually accept it. Accept that my daughter is married to a public school teacher in Portland. Accept that your daughter is happy. That she has a family she chose. That she's building something meaningful, even if it doesn't look like what you imagined. She's quiet for a long time. Then, and if I can't? Then we'll have a cordial, distant relationship. You can visit occasionally on terms we establish. But you won't be integrated into our daily lives. You won't be someone Mason runs to with exciting news. You'll be the grandmother he sees at Christmas. You'd cut me out of his life. I'd protect his life from instability. If you can't accept us, you can't be fully part of us. That's not punishment. It's boundary setting. She looks at me like she's seeing someone new. When did you become this calculating? I learned from the best. For just a second, something flickers across her face. Might be anger, might be recognition, might be grudging respect. I'd like to meet him, she says finally. Mason. Not today. Today you go back to your hotel. You process this. Then, if you decide you can be here without trying to fix or change or manage us, we'll arrange a meeting. A short one. Supervised. Supervised. Her voice hardens. Like I'm some kind of threat. You are a threat, Mom. You've proven that. So yes, supervised until you prove otherwise. She stands, collects her purse. At the door, she pauses. You were always the stubborn one. Even as a child. I was always yours, I correct. That hasn't changed. But I'm also mine now. After she leaves, I stand in the quiet living room for several minutes. Then Ethan comes downstairs and wraps his arms around me from behind. How'd it go? I didn't cry, didn't apologize, didn't back down. So, perfectly. She's going to regroup and come back harder. Probably. He kisses my temple. But now she knows the terms. That's progress. That night, after Mason's in bed, after he's asked 60 questions about when he'll meet his fancy grandmother, I open my laptop and draft an email to Uncle James, asking him about the specifics of my father's trust. If Victoria can't control me financially, I need documentation proving that. Not to use against her, but to remove the weapon from the field entirely. Then I do something else. I search for Evelyn Carter, one of my mother's oldest Charleston friends. Evelyn is on the board of the Cultural Alliance with Victoria, but I remember her differently, warmer, more genuine, occasionally skeptical of my mother's more intense social campaigns. I find her email through the Alliance website and compose a careful message. Dear Mrs. Carter, you may not remember me. I'm Victoria Whitmore's daughter, Caroline. I'm reaching out because I'm trying to understand something about my mother's current social circle in Charleston. This might seem like an odd question, but has my mother mentioned my marriage at all in the past 7 years? I'm asking for personal reasons. I'd be happy to explain if you're willing to talk. I'm not trying to create problems. Quite the opposite. I'm trying to resolve some. Best. Caroline. I don't expect a response. But 2 hours later, my phone chimes with an email. Caroline. Of course I remember you. And no, your mother has never mentioned a marriage. In fact, she's generally implied you're focused entirely on career development. There's been some speculation about whether you might be, as they say, dedicated to your work in a way that precludes traditional family life. I'd be happy to talk more. Are you in Charleston? I'm free Tuesday afternoon. Warmly. Everlyn. I read this 3 times. My mother has hidden my marriage not because she's ashamed I told her about it, but because she was hoping it would go away. She's been maintaining her own fiction, the devoted daughter still being groomed for the right match, just taking her time. This is leverage. Not the legal kind, but the social kind that matters in my mother's world. Victoria's power in Charleston comes from her carefully maintained image as someone who has everything under control. If it becomes known that her daughter has been married for 7 years with a child, and Victoria had no idea, or worse, knew and couldn't acknowledge it, the narrative shifts. She's no longer the strategic matriarch. She's the mother who lost control of her own daughter's life. I don't want to humiliate her. But I need her to know I could. Over the next week, Victoria doesn't contact me. This is its own form of communication. She's regrouping, consulting allies, forming strategy. I use the time to build infrastructure. Ethan and I sit down with Mason's preschool director and update the approved contact list, explicitly noting that Victoria Whitmore is not authorized for pickup without prior parental permission. We draft what Ethan calls the family boundary plan, clear rules about Victoria's contact with Mason, the topics that are off limits, our expectations for respectful communication. This feels insane, I tell him one night as we're reviewing the document. Creating a literal contract for interacting with my mother. It feels insane because healthy families don't need this, he agrees. But you don't have a healthy family dynamic. You have a strategic relationship with someone who views your life as a project she's managing. So you need strategic boundaries. On day 8, Victoria calls. Her voice is measured, controlled. I'd like to take you to lunch. Just us. Thursday at 1, if you're available. Where? There's a bistro downtown. Layer Pigeon. I've made a reservation. Of course she has. Victoria never suggests meeting anywhere she hasn't personally vetted. I can do Thursday. Good. Come alone, please. This is a conversation for adults. Agreed. Layer Pigeon is exactly the kind of place my mother would choose. Excellent food, impeccable service, the sort of environment that implicitly demands certain standards of behavior. You don't make scenes at Le Pigeon. You don't raise your voice. The space itself is a form of social control. She's already seated when I arrive, wearing a dove grey dress and her signature pearls. She stands to greet me, a gesture of civility, and we sit. You look tired, as she observes. Mason's going through a phase where he wakes up at dawn to tell us dinosaur facts. She sips her water. Children do require structure. They require love and attention. Structure helps, but it's not the foundation. The server arrives, we order, and then we're alone with our agenda. I've been thinking about our conversation, Victoria begins. And I realize I responded poorly. I was surprised, which isn't your fault. You had reasons for keeping your life private. This is as close to an apology as she's capable of. Thank you. However, here comes the pivot. I do think we need to discuss Mason's future. His education specifically. Portland public schools are fine for many children, but given his background. Mom. Stop. I'm simply saying that opportunities. Stop. I lean forward. We're not discussing Mason's education. That's off the table. He's 5. He's happy. His school is excellent. This isn't a negotiation. Her jaw tightens. I'm his grandmother. I have some right to express concern. You have the right to express concern once. You don't have the right to campaign to change our decisions. If you can't respect that boundary, you're proving you're not ready to be involved in his life. Caroline, you're being unreasonable. No. I'm being clear. You're used to people being deferential with you because of your social position. That's not going to happen here. If you want a relationship with Mason, you need to accept that Ethan and I make the decisions. Period. We stare at each other across the table. This is the real confrontation, not the emotional scene at my house, but this cold negotiation over power distribution. Finally, she says, what would make you trust me? Interesting question. Time. Consistency. Demonstrated respect for our boundaries. You can't manipulate your way into trust, Mom. You have to earn it through actual changed behavior. And if I do this? If I'm, or patient? Then what? Then you get to be Mason's grandmother. Really be it. Not the quarterly visitor, but someone he loves and trusts and runs to with good news. For the first time, I see something unguarded in her expression. Want. She wants that. She wants to matter to her grandson in a way she apparently doesn't feel she matters to anyone else. What does that look like practically? She asks. You visit regularly but not constantly. You follow our rules about food, screen time, bedtime, all the little things that make parenting consistent. You don't criticize Ethan, not to us and especially not to Mason. You treat our home with respect, even if it's not how you decorate. You be pleasant. I pause. You pretend, if you have to. But you don't make Mason the site of a power struggle. She's quiet for a long time. Our food arrives. We eat in silence, excellent salmon, roasted vegetables, the kind of meal that costs as much as 3 dinners at the places Ethan and I usually go. Your father would have liked him, she says eventually. Ethan. He always preferred substance over flash. This is an enormous concession. Dad was good at seeing people. He was. I'm, less good at it. She sets down her fork with precision. I need you to understand something, Caroline. My whole life has been about maintaining a certain standard. About being someone who matters in a world that easily forgets people, especially women past a certain age. You were part of that. My accomplished daughter. My legacy. I'm not your legacy. I'm a person. I know that intellectually. But emotionally, as she stops, recalibrates. It's difficult to separate those things when you've built your entire identity around family position. Then maybe you need to build something else too. Something that's just yours. At 62. Dad died at 58. If you've got another 20 or 30 years, that's a lot of time to be just the woman who used to have a prominent family. I soften my voice slightly. You're smart, Mom. You're strategic and capable. There are things you could do that aren't about me or Mason or the Whitmore name. She looks at me with something between surprise and irritation. You're giving me life advice now? I'm suggesting that maybe your need to control my life comes from not having enough fulfillment in your own. How very therapeutic of you. I've had a lot of therapy. It helps. Despite herself, she almost smiles. I suppose Portland is full of therapists. Excellent ones. I have a referral list if you're interested. This time she does smile, thin and wry. You've become formidable. I'm not sure whether to be proud or concerned. Both is fine. We finish lunch. When the check comes, she pays, an automatic gesture of control, but I don't fight it. Pick your battles. At the door, she says, I'd like to meet Mason this weekend. If you think that's appropriate. Saturday afternoon. At our house. 2 hours. Ethan and I will be present the whole time. Supervised visitation. Like I'm some kind of criminal. Like you're someone who needs to learn how to be a grandmother instead of a campaign manager. I touch her arm briefly. Mom. I want this to work. But only if you actually change. Not just perform change while waiting for me to capitulate. She nods, stiff but sincere. Saturday then. That weekend, Victoria arrives at 2 o'clock exactly, carrying an absurdly large gift bag. Ethan answers the door, would agreed he should, as a signal that he's not hiding, and welcomes her with careful politeness. Mrs. Whitmore. Good to see you again. Mr. Rivera. She steps inside, scans the room, locates Mason. He's building a complex Lego structure in the corner, completely absorbed. Mason, I call gently. Someone's here to meet you. He looks up, sees Victoria, and his eyes widen. Are you Grandma Victoria? I am. You look like a queen. Despite everything, Victoria laughs, a real laugh, surprised out of her. Well, thank you. You must be Mason. I'm 5. I like dinosaurs and ballet and building things. Want to see my Lego city? I would love to. We all settle in the living room. Mason shows Victoria his creation, explaining the intricate logic of his Lego civilization with the deadly seriousness 5-year-olds bring to their passions. Victoria listens, asks appropriate questions, and doesn't once suggest that his time might be better spent on other activities. It's a performance, but it's a good one. After the tour, Mason notices the gift bag. Is that for me? It is. Victoria hands it over. I hope you like it. Inside is an expensive telescope and a book about constellations. It's a good gift, thoughtful, age-appropriate, encouraging of learning. It's also the kind of gift that suggests future stargazing sessions, future conversations, future relationship. Strategic, but not manipulatively so. Wow! Mason is genuinely delighted. Mom! Dad! Look! Ethan examines the telescope. This is a really nice one. We'll have to find some good dark sky spots around Portland. I'd be happy to research recommendations Victoria offers. I understand the Columbia Gorge has excellent viewing conditions. We spend 2 careful hours together. Victoria is pleasant, engaged, respectful. She compliments our home without condescension. She asks Ethan about his teaching with apparent genuine interest. She doesn't criticize, doesn't make pointed comments, doesn't try to restructure our afternoon according to her preferences. When she leaves, Mason hugs her, unprompted, natural. Will you come back? If your parents say it's all right. Please come back. I want to show you my ballet recital. I'd like that very much. After she's gone, Ethan and I look at each other. That went better than expected, he says. She was performing. But at least she knows what performance we need from her. You think it'll last? I think we've established baseline expectations. Whether she can maintain them long term, I shrug. We'll see. For 3 weeks, Victoria is model grandmother. She visits twice more, always respectful of our schedule, always pleasant with Ethan. She sends Mason age-appropriate books and educational materials. She calls to check in but doesn't demand lengthy conversations. It's almost suspicious how compliant she's being. Then the invitation arrives. It's formal. Printed on heavy cardstock, Mason's birthday party, celebrating his 5th birthday at our home, a Saturday afternoon in May. We'd sent it to family and close friends, including Victoria as a gesture of inclusion. She responds immediately, not with an RSVP but with a phone call. Caroline, I'd like to bring your grandparents to Mason's party. I freeze. My father's parents, both in their mid-80s, still living in Charleston. I haven't seen them in 2 years. That's a long trip for them. They've expressed interest in meeting their great-grandson. I thought Mason's birthday would be the perfect opportunity. This is a power move. Bringing reinforcements, expanding the field, introducing new variables I'll have to manage. But it's also a reasonable request. They are Mason's great-grandparents. Did they ask to come, or did you suggest it? Brief pause. I mentioned the party. They were enthusiastic. Okay. But Mom, this is a kids' party. There will be 12 kindergartners here. It's going to be loud and chaotic and not elegant. I understand. And if you're using their presence to try to stage some kind of family moment where you re-establish control. I'm not. She sounds tired. Caroline, I'm simply trying to integrate into your family. You asked me to do that. This is me attempting it. Fair enough. Okay. They're welcome. Let me know their flight details and I'll pick them up from the airport. I've already arranged a car service. Of course she has. The party is exactly the beautiful chaos I predicted. 12 5-year-olds high on cake and sunshine, racing around our backyard in dinosaur costumes. Ethan is supervising a fossil dig sandbox he built specially for the occasion. Our friends are here, Lena and her wife, other parents from Mason's school, neighbors. It's loud and messy and perfect. Victoria arrives with my grandparents at 3 o'clock. Grandma June looks smaller than I remember but delighted. Grandpa Tom is using a cane but moving well. They spot me and their faces light up. Caroline. Grandma June pulls me into a hug. Oh honey, look at you. And this house. It's charming. Let me meet my great-grandson, Grandpa Tom demands. I lead them to the backyard where Mason is orchestrating a T-Rex battle with 3 other kids. Mason, come here a second. He bounds over, face painted with whiskers, crown slightly askew. Hi. This is your great-grandma June and great-grandpa Tom. Mason executes a formal bow, something he learned in ballet. I'm very pleased to meet you. Grandma June laughs with pure joy. Oh, he's perfect. Tom, isn't he perfect? Looks like his mother, Grandpa Tom says. Same stubborn chin. Mason considers this. Do you want to see my dinosaur garden? I built it with Dad. We would love to, a Grandma June says, letting Mason take her hand and lead her across the yard. Victoria watches this interaction with an expression I can't quite read. For once, she's not managing anything. She's just observing. Thank you for bringing them, I tell her quietly. They deserved to know him. She pauses. I kept them from him too. That's on me, not just you. This might be the most honest thing she's ever said to me. The party continues. Mason opens presents, a blur of dinosaur-themed items and art supplies. Then Victoria produces a final gift, considerably larger than the others. Mason tears into it with 5-year-old enthusiasm and extracts. A certificate? What is it? He asks. Victoria kneels to his level. It's an educational trust. Money set aside for your future, for college or whatever you choose to study. Mason looks confused. What's college? Big school for when you're older, Ethan explains, appearing at my side. His hand finds mine. But there's something else, Victoria continues. She pulls out a smaller box. Inside is an antique compass, brass and beautiful. This belonged to your great-grandfather, Caroline's father. He was an explorer at heart. He always said the most important thing was finding your own direction, not following someone else's map. My breath catches. I recognize this compass. My father carried it everywhere. Mason, your family wants you to have every opportunity, Victoria says. But those opportunities are meant to help you find your own path, not force you onto one we choose. This compass is to remind you of that. She looks up at me as she says this last part. It's an apology. An acknowledgement. A surrender of the very control she spent weeks trying to reclaim. Mason, oblivious to the emotional weight, is delighted by the compass. It's like a treasure. It is, Victoria agrees. A treasure that helps you find more treasures. Grandma June is crying. Grandpa Tom looks at Victoria with something like approval. My friends are tactfully pretending to focus on their cake. I crouch down next to Victoria and Mason. That's a very special gift. What do you say? Thank you, Grandma Victoria. He hugs her, natural and enthusiastic. Over his head, Victoria meets my eyes. There's a question there. Did I do this right? I nod. She did. Later, after the kids have been picked up, after the wrapping paper is collected and the cake is mostly eaten, we sit in the backyard, me, Ethan, Victoria, and my grandparents. Mason is showing Grandpa Tom his ballet moves, completely unself-conscious. He's happy, a Grandma June observes. You've built something lovely here, Caroline. Thank you. Your father would be proud, a Grandpa Tom adds. He always said you had steel under all that politeness. Victoria is quiet, watching Mason dance. Finally, she says, I've been thinking about starting a scholarship program through the Cultural Alliance. For young adults who want to pursue meaningful work but face family pressure to choose more prestigious careers. I thought I might name it after your father, Caroline. I look at her. That's a wonderful idea. I'd need help setting it up. Someone who understands the non-profit world, grant structures, that sort of thing. She glances at me. You wouldn't be interested in consulting on it, would you? This is an olive branch. More than that, it's an invitation into her world on different terms. Not as the daughter she's managing, but as the professional she's finally recognizing. I'd be honored, I say. We sit in comfortable quiet for a while. The Portland evening is cool but not cold. the sky going pink and gold. Mason has abandoned ballet for the tire swing Ethan installed last month. He's laughing, wild and free, absolutely himself. I owe you an apology, Victoria says suddenly. Not for wanting good things for you, but for being so rigid about what good looked like. I thought I was protecting you from mistakes. Really, I was protecting myself from uncertainty. I know. And I owe Ethan an apology for how I thought about him before I knew him. She looks at my husband. You're an excellent father and a good partner to my daughter. That should have been all that mattered. Ethan nods acknowledgement. Thank you for saying that. I'll likely still be irritating, Victoria adds. Old habits and all that. As long as you're irritating within reasonable boundaries, I say, will manage. Grandma June pats Victoria's hand. Growth at our age is undignified and awkward. But it beats the alternative. Which is? Dying lonely because you valued control more than connection. Victoria absorbs this with a slight wince. You've always been uncomfortably direct, June. Someone has to be. When my grandparents and Victoria finally leave, they're staying at a hotel downtown, returning to Charleston tomorrow. Ethan and I tackle the party aftermath. Mason has crashed in the living room, asleep on the couch with his new compass clutched in one hand. That was intense, Ethan says, loading the dishwasher. That was progress. You think she meant it? The scholarship thing? I think she's trying to find a role that feels meaningful without being controlling. If the scholarship works out, she gets to honor my dad, support kids dealing with what I dealt with, and work with me as a colleague rather than as my mother trying to direct my life. I hand him a plate. It's actually kind of genius. She's a strategic thinker. Just like her daughter. I learned from somewhere. He closes the dishwasher and pulls me close. You did a hard thing. You set boundaries with someone who isn't used to having boundaries set. You let her back in even though she hurt you. That takes courage. Or stupidity. Courage, he insists. And I'm proud of you. We stand there in our kitchen, our messy, imperfect, real kitchen, and I feel something settle. Not resolution exactly, but space. Room for things to be complicated without being catastrophic. 3 months later, in August, we host Thanksgiving in Portland. Victoria comes for a week. She stays in a rental house a few blocks away, independence for all of us. She teaches Mason to make her mother's biscuit recipe. She goes to one of his ballet classes and cries quietly in the back. She and Ethan have a long conversation about climate change education in public schools. She's still herself, particular, strategic, occasionally maddening. But she's herself within the boundaries we've established. The scholarship launches in September. The Victoria and James Whitmore Memorial Scholarship for Independent Futures. Victoria and I work together on the grant criteria. We disagree constantly about details, but we disagree as colleagues, not as mother trying to control daughter. It's not perfect, but it's functional. One evening, after a particularly productive video call about the scholarship's first recipients, Victoria says, "You were right, you know. About needing something that was mine. This feels, purposeful. In a way the board positions never quite did. I'm glad. And Caroline? Thank you for not giving up on me. I know I didn't make it easy. You're my mother. It was never really a question of giving up. Just figuring out how to love you without losing myself. You've managed it better than I did with my own mother. Maybe that's how it works. Each generation gets a little better at it." After we hang up, I walk upstairs. Mason is asleep, sprawled in his bed surrounded by books and dinosaurs. Ethan is reading in our room, glasses slipping down his nose. Our house smells like the cedar candles he makes and the lavender I'm growing in the kitchen windowsill. I stand in the doorway, taking inventory, a marriage built on truth, not performance. A child who's learning he can be holy himself. A relationship with my mother that's finally honest, boundaried, and workable. A career I chose. A city that fits me. A life that's mine. 7 years ago, I thought I had to choose between my family and my happiness. Turned out the real choice was between their version of my life and my actual life. Between who I was supposed to be and who I actually am. The compass Victoria gave Mason sits on his bookshelf, catching light from his dinosaur lamp. Find your own direction. Don't follow someone else's map. I'm learning, Dad. Slowly, imperfectly, but I'm learning. Outside, Portland rain begins its evening percussion. Inside, my family sleeps. I am 34 years old, and for the first time in my adult life, I am not hiding anything from anyone. There are no secret apartments, no carefully maintained lies, no parallel versions of my life. There's just this: truth, boundaries, integration without surrender, and the quiet radical act of being fully myself while staying connected to the people I love. It turns out that's enough. More than enough. It's everything.